This is the Double Edge Factor, where high performance meets peace of mind and faith meets focus. I am your host, Rod Manuel, and peace and blessings unto you. Before we get going, be sure to like, follow, and hit that subscribe button, because the more positive interactions you put out there, the more they push this podcast to people who've never heard it before, which in turn will allow us to grow, reach new ears, and have a greater impact on more people around the world. So, if you don't mind, head on over to www.rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com. Join that email list and remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the truth that most people avoid. Someday is the biggest lie we ever tell ourselves. Someday I'll get serious about my health. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll launch that business. Someday I'll invest in myself, fix that habit, heal that wound, deepen that faith. And here's what happens. Someday becomes months, months become years, and years become regret. Someday feels like it's safe because it lets you believe that you still have time, that you can delay without consequence, that your potential is patient, that purpose waits, that calling waits, that life waits. But it doesn't. Everything you delay decays. Everything you procrastinate, it just reroads. Everything you avoid just expands. So you don't lose your dream overnight. You lose it in tiny daily postponements. One, not today. One, I'll start next week. One, when the timing is better. Sounds familiar? Right. People don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they outsource their responsibility to a mythical future version of themselves who supposedly has more discipline, more energy, more courage, and more clarity. But let's be honest. If you don't have the discipline today, you don't magically have it next Tuesday. The real issue isn't timing, it's avoidance. Avoiding responsibility, avoiding discomfort, avoiding accountability, avoiding momentum. Someday is the graveyard of potential. Now let's get deeper. Take just one moment, not a deep emotional moment, just a direct check in, and ask yourself, what am I postponing that I know God already told me to start? Not something vague, not something dreamy, but specific. What's the conversation you keep avoiding? What's the discipline you've been playing around with? What's the dream you treat like a hobby? What's the habit you keep saying you'll break later? What's that calling you've been pretending you're not qualified for? And here's the hard truth. If you needed perfect conditions, you would never be born. You were created for this time, not the time you keep trying to schedule. Sit in that for a second. All right, let's move on. Today's show is brought to you by Polished Custom Builders, where they specialize in building your dream into a reality through custom home building, renovations, and interior design. Check them out at polishedcustombuilders.com, where the most beautiful house in the world is the one that you build yourself. There's a simple but powerful message in Proverbs. It says, go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. So God points out to us about this ant, because the ant doesn't wait for the perfect day. The ant doesn't wait for motivation. The ant doesn't wait for applause or permission. The ant just moves, and it moves consistently, quietly, and daily. The Bible warns a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty will come like a thief. You notice a pattern there? Not massive laziness, just little delays, little postponements, little compromises, little some days. You don't lose your calling in one moment. You lose it in a series of small, comfortable decisions. Delay is the enemy of destiny, and God uses the ant to prove something very simple. Purpose grows through motion, not perfect timing. All right, let's break into some real world applications. Someday kills your dreams for three reasons. Number one, someday gives you an emotional escape. You see, it helps you avoid responsibility without feeling guilty. It keeps you in a fantasy of, I'll do it when I'm ready. But here's the reality check: you won't feel ready, and you never will. Number two, someday lets you cling to illusions of potential. Potential feels very good, right? But potential without action becomes pain. Unused potential turns into resentment that it's usually towards yourself. Number three, someday masks fears as a strategy. You're not planning, you're just hiding. You're hiding behind that busyness, behind excuses, behind timing, behind, I just need to pray about it just a little bit more, even though God has already answered you. You see, every delay quietly reinforces a mindset that says, I'm not capable yet. Or even worse, I don't deserve it yet. But God's calling is not based on your timeline, it's based on obedience. All right, we've called out the problem. Let's move into some solutions. If someday is where dreams go to die, then we need habits, we need mindsets and decisions that create today's momentum. So let's make this practical. Let's start with health. Someday you'll start eating better. Someday you'll exercise. Someday you'll take mental health seriously. Translation, you're really saying, I'm waiting until I'm desperate. But you see, the new version of you doesn't wait for crisis to create commitment. Number two, career and business. Someday you'll launch that project. Someday you'll apply for that new role. Someday you'll raise your own prices in your business. And someday you'll stop working out of fear. If you wait too long, someone else will, with less skill, but more courage, will take the opportunity that you keep rescheduling. Number three, relationships. Someday I'll fix that conflict. Someday you'll stop enabling someone. Someday you'll set boundaries, and someday you'll stop accepting half effort from people who expect a full effort from you. Here's the thing: relationships, they just rot in someday. Number four, faith and spiritual alignment. Someday you'll pray more. Someday you'll study more. Someday you'll obey the nudge you keep ignoring. But you see, spiritual growth doesn't just happen in a delay, it happens in discipline. Number five, personal development. Someday you'll invest in yourself. Someday you'll seek coaching, counseling, or even guidance. Someday you'll read, learn, heal, grow. But if you don't value growth today, you're definitely not going to value it tomorrow. Okay, here's my challenge to you. For the next 24 hours, do one action you've been postponing. Not five, not a whole lifestyle change, but one action that breaks that someday cycle. Because momentum begins with motion, not motivation. This is Rob Manuel with the Double Edge Factor. And if this episode added value, clarity, or even one push you needed, share it with just one person today. The only way we grow this podcast is when you share it. The more you share, the greater impact we have on more listeners around the world. So Hit that subscribe button to never miss another episode, or you can head over to rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com, where you'll find resources, coaching tools, and more to help you live, lead, and perform at your highest level. You can also order my book, Faith on Demand, as well as other exclusive content. And as I always say, be intentional with your words, be intentional with your thoughts, and be intentional with your actions. And always find a way to be a blessing to someone else today.